September 27th, 1944. 0530 hours. Tibenham Airfield, Norfolk, England. The briefing room reeks of coffee, cigarette smoke, and tension. First Lieutenant John W. McLean sits in the third row, his leather, a two-jacket creaking as he leans forward, elbows on knees. Around him, 110 other pilots, co-pilots, navigators, and bombardiers from the 445th Bomb Group wait in the pre-dawn darkness. The murmur of conversation dies as Colonel Robert H. Terrell steps to the platform. Behind him, covered by a canvas sheet, is the map. Everyone knows what's underneath. Another mission into Germany. The question is where? Terrell doesn't waste time. He pulls the sheet. Gentlemen, Kassel. A collective exhale fills the room. Deep into Germany, industrial heartland. Kassel means the Henschel Ordnance Works, EV, tanks, locomotives, ammunition. It also means heavy flak concentrations and fighter bases ringing the target like wolves around a campfire. McLean glances at his navigator, Second Lieutenant Robert Benninger, seated beside him. Benninger's already scribbling coordinates into his notepad, his thick-rimmed glasses reflecting the overhead lights. Good navigator. Meticulous. That matters when you're flying 300 miles into enemy territory. The intelligence officer takes over. Weather, cloud layer over the continent, breaks expected near the target. Fighter escort, P-51 Mustangs will accompany them to the German border, then P-47 Thunderbolts for the return leg. Expected enemy opposition, moderate to heavy. Translation, the Luftwaffe, will be up. Takeoff at 0800 hours, Terrell continues. Assembly over Buncher 9 at Angels 12. Will slot into the main formation, 2nd Air Division, with the... McLean stops listening to the formation details. He's flown this route before, not to Kassel specifically, but the rhythm is always the same. Climb out over England. Circle until 37 B-24 Liberators find each other in the sky. Join the larger bomber stream, AT-5, hundreds of aircraft stretching across miles of airspace. Then the long straight run to the target while flak bursts around you like black flowers, and German fighters dive from the sun. He's been doing this for 6 months, 22 missions, 15 more, and he goes home. Special emphasis on formation integrity. Terrell says, his voice cutting through McLean's thoughts. Stay tight, the fighter cover depends on it. If you lose the formation, you're on your own. McLean feels it then, that familiar tightening in his gut. Not fear exactly, respect. Respect for what can go wrong at 25,000 feet when you're sitting in 65,000 pounds of aluminum loaded with fuel and 500-pound bombs. The briefing ends with the weather forecast, call signs, and radio frequencies. Then the chaplain stands. Some men bow their heads. Others stare at the floor. The prayer is short. It always is. Outside, the sky is lightening to grey. Across the hard stands, ground crews swarm over the B-24's final checks. Fuel topped off. Bomb bay doors open as ordnance is loaded. McLean walks to his aircraft, Flotsam, the name painted beneath the cockpit window, along with 22 small bomb symbols, one for each mission. His crew is already there. Tech Sergeant Raymond Bickle, flight engineer, stands on the wing checking the number 3 engine. Staff Sergeant Mike Donahue, ball turret gunner, crouches near the belly turret, Mae West inflated over his flight suit. The waist gunners, tail gunner, radio operator, AFO, 10 men total, are going through their pre-flight rituals. Some write letters, some smoke, some just stare at the aircraft, as if memorizing it. McLean climbs through the nose hatch. Inside, the B-24 smells like oil, hydraulic fluid, and sweat. Benninger is already at his navigation station, maps spread across the tiny desk. The bombardier, Second Lieutenant Frank Russo, settles into the nose position, checking the Norden bomb site. Good hunting today, boys, Russo says, his Brooklyn accent thick. McLean doesn't answer. He settles into the left seat, hands moving through the checklist automatically. Fuel mixture, throttles, magnetos. At 0755 hours, the red flare arcs into the morning sky. The engines cough, then roar. 4 Pratt & Whitney R1000, 830 radials, each one screaming at 1100 horsepower. The noise is physical. It climbs through the fuselage, through the seat, into McLean's chest. He watches the instruments, oil pressure rising, cylinder head temperatures climbing into the green. Number 3, engine runs a little rough, always has, but Bickle gives him the thumbs up from the flight engineer's position behind the cockpit. Across Tibenham, 36 other B-24 shake to life. At 0800 hours, McLean releases the brakes. Flotsam lurches forward, tail wheel bouncing over the concrete taxiway. The aircraft ahead of him, Reluctant Dragon, piloted by Captain James Keefe, is already turning onto the runway. One by one, the Liberators queue up. Through the windscreen, the runway stretches out, 6,000 feet of concrete, disappearing into the morning haze. 37 B-24 circling over Buncher 9, a radio beacon near the coast, climbing through scattered clouds at 12,000 feet. The lead aircraft fires colored flares, green, green, red. That's the 445th signal. McLean banks left, slides Flotsam into position on Keefe's wing. Around them, the formation takes shape, a box formation, bold, aircraft stacked in altitude, staggered for mutual defensive fire. When it works, every gun can cover every approach. When it doesn't, aircraft collide or drift into each other's prop wash. It takes 40 minutes. By 0845 hours, the 445th Bomb Group is formed and climbing eastward. Navigator to pilot, Benninger's voice crackles through the intercom. On course, heading 090, rendezvous with main formation in 22 minutes. McLean clicks the mic twice. Acknowledgement. Below, the English Channel passes beneath them, grey water, white caps. At 18,000 feet, they hit the cloud layer, solid, white, disorienting. McLean tightens the formation, keeping Keefe's aircraft locked in his peripheral vision. Lose sight of the lead in the clouds, and you're alone. Formation integrity. That's what Terrell said. The 2nd Air Division, 3rd Division, escorts weaving overhead. P-51 Mustangs, with their distinctive checkered noses. The 445th begins its turn to merge with the formation. And that's when it happens. Benninger's voice. Pilot, nav. Something's wrong. We should have made the turn 3 minutes ago. The lead's off course. McLean looks at the formation ahead. They should be merging now. Instead, the main bomber stream is drifting south. The 445th is continuing east, straight into Germany. Alone. Wade, try to raise the lead on command frequency. Wade toggles the radio. Gypsy leader, this is Gypsy 27. You're off heading. Repeat, off heading. Static. Gypsy leader, acknowledge. Nothing. The cloud layer below is solid again. No visual reference, just instruments and hope that the lead navigator knows what he's doing. But Benninger is shaking his head at his charts, rechecking calculations. The 445th is supposed to be part of a stream of over 800 bombers, safety in numbers. Fighter escorts rotating in and out. Now, 37 B-24s are flying alone, 30 miles north of where they should be. Navigator to pilot. We are definitely separated from the main formation. Estimate we're over Eisenach. Repeat, we are off course and alone. McLean feels his hands tighten on the yoke. He looks out at the formation. Still tight, still together. But the P-51s that were supposed to escort them deep into Germany, they're with the main formation, somewhere over the horizon. The 445th Bomb Group is naked. Radio operator to crew. Staff Sergeant Ed Woolen's voice cuts through the intercom. I'm picking up German radio traffic. A lot of it. Fighter directions. In the belly turret, Donahue rotates his position, scanning the sky below. The waist gunners, Sergeants Bill Harris and Tom Cavanaugh, pull back the charging handles on their 50 caliber machine guns. The tail gunner, Sergeant Joe Ramirez, swivels his twin 50s, searching the blue sky behind them. 24,000 feet above Germany. No escorts. No main formation. Just 37 American bombers flying straight and level toward Kassel. And somewhere below, German radar operators are watching their screens, seeing a small, isolated formation, a gift. McLean keys the intercom. All crew, pilot, keep your eyes open. We're alone out here. The words sound hollow even as he says them. Below the clouds, at Luftwaffe fighter bases around Kassel, Akma, Rheine, Gütersloh, Eek, alarm bells are ringing. Pilots sprint across tarmacs toward Focke-Wulf, 190, and Messerschmitt, 109. Engines cough to life. Ground crews pull chocks. The hunters are scrambling, and the 445th Bomb Group flies on, unaware that they have minutes left. Oberleutnant Karl Fischer pushes the throttle of his Focke-Wulf 190 forward, and the fighter leaps off the runway at Gütersloh. Behind him, 11 more WW-190s claw into the air. The entire Gruppe, Vo, 3 squadrons, 48 aircraft, O5, is scrambling. Fischer's headset crackles with voices. German, clipped, efficient. Boxcar formation, heading 110. Angels 2-4, no escort visible. Fisher grins behind his oxygen mask. Boxcar, American slang for the B-24 Liberator. And no escort? The Luftwaffe has drawn blood before, but an isolated bomber formation this deep into Germany? It's Christmas morning. He banks east, climbing through 20,000 feet. Around him, the sky fills with German fighters. Not just his group. Messerschmitt 109 from Acme, Moor Fu FT 190 from Rhine. Sturmgruppe fighters, heavily armored, designed specifically to break bomber formations. They're all converging on the same coordinates. 150 fighters against 37 bombers. Fisher levels off at 25,000 feet and sees them. Black specks against white clouds. The B-24s are in a tight box formation, stacked in 3-ship elements. From this distance, they look almost beautiful, geometric, precise. Sunlight glints off aluminum skin and perspex gun turrets. Fisher counts them quickly. 33, 34. He stops at 37. All aircraft, this is lead. Attack from 12 o'clock high. Press the attack. Break them. Fisher rolls, inverted, and dives. Inside Flotsam, Staff Sergeant Mike Donahue rotates the ball turret, sweeping the sky. His world is perspex and steel, a sphere barely 4 feet across, suspended beneath the bomber's belly, 250 caliber machine guns jutting forward. His knees drawn up to his chest. Cramped. Cold. But the best view on the aircraft. He sees them first. Ball to crew, fighters, 12 o'clock high. Jesus Christ, there's dozens of them. McLean snaps his head up. Through the windscreen, he sees what Donahue sees. The sky ahead is suddenly filled with enemy aircraft. They're diving out of the sun, Focke-Wulfs and Messerschmitts, their wings winking with cannon fire. All guns, engage. The nose guns open up. Russo, the bombardier, swings the twin 50s mounted in the nose and squeezes the triggers. Tracers arc into the sky. Every 5th round, a bright streak. The top turret behind McLean's head roars to life, shaking the entire cockpit. Bickle is firing, tracking a FAO 190 as it screams past at a closure rate of 500 miles per hour. The first pass is a blur. Fighters everywhere. They come from every angle. 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 9 o'clock. The air fills with tracers, cannon shells, and the smell of cordite. A Flock 190 flashes past Flotsam's right wing, so close McLean can see the pilot's face. Then it's gone. Tail to crew, they're coming around again, 6 o'clock level. Ramirez, in the tail turret, opens fire. His twin 50s hammer away, shell casings cascading into the fuselage. A Messerschmitt 109 bores in, nose guns flashing. Tracers walk up the B-24's tail, metal shrieks. Something hits hard, a cannon shell punching through aluminum. The aircraft shudders. We're hit. Rudder damage. McLean fights the yoke. The rudder pedals feel mushy. The B-24 wants to yaw right. He compensates, trimming hard left. Around him, the formation is under full assault. Every aircraft is firing. The sky is a web of tracers, outgoing and incoming. Then the first B-24 dies. It's made in USA, flown by Lieutenant Edwin Stever. A FOF-1 190 comes in from 2 o'clock, firing a sustained burst. The right-wing fuel tank explodes. Orange flame engulfs the wing root. The B-24 rolls inverted, the burning wing folding upward. It drops out of formation, trailing fire and smoke. McLean watches, helpless, as it spins toward the cloud layer below. No parachutes. Stay in formation. The group leader's voice over the radio. Maintain interval, keep firing. But the attacks are relentless. The German fighters aren't making single passes and running. They're staying, circling, attacking again and again. Fisher and his pilots know they have time. No American escorts are coming. They can take their time, pick the bombers apart. A second B-24 takes hits. Liberty Bell, piloted by Captain Thomas Jacobson, cannon shells shred the cockpit. The perspex explodes inward. Jacobson slumps forward, dead. The co-pilot grabs the yoke, but it's too late. The B-24 noses down, out of control, and collides with Hell's Fury below it. Both aircraft disintegrate, wings separate, fuselages tumble, bodies and debris scatter across 3,000 feet of sky. 20 men gone in an instant. Radio to crew, I'm getting calls from all over the group, aircraft going down, multiple shoots in the air. McLean risks a glance left. The formation that was tight and disciplined 5 minutes ago is ragged now, gaps where B-24s used to be, smoke trails, Aircraft with one engine feathered, struggling to maintain altitude, and still the German fighters come. Donahue, in the ball turret, tracks a Messerschmitt. He leads it, waits for the angle, fires. His tracers converge. The fighter's engine explodes in a spray of coolant and fire. It rolls away, trailing smoke. Ball to crew, got one. But for every German fighter damaged, 3 more take its place. The mathematics are brutal, 150 against 37, and the 37 are losing. Fischer pulls out of his third pass. His ammunition is running low, but he can see the bomber formation is breaking. Aircraft are scattered across the sky, some are burning. Others are trying to turn back west, trying to run. He keys his radio. All aircraft, press them, finish them. The Luftwaffe tightens the noose. 0942 hours. 4 minutes into the attack. Flotsam shudders as another cannon shell punches through the left wing. McLean sees the hole appear, jagged, 20 inches wide, right through the fuel tank. Fuel streams out, vaporizing in the slipstream. The number 2 engine starts losing power, RPM dropping. He's already lost 15% manifold pressure on number 3. The B-24 is bleeding. Engineer, can you transfer fuel from... The top turret explodes above his head. Not explodes. That's not the right word. It simply ceases to exist. A 20mm cannon shell from a diving 4-190 hits the turret dead center. The perspex dome shatters. Bickle's body is torn apart. Blood and hydraulic fluid spray across the cockpit ceiling. McLean feels something hot splash across his neck. Wade screams. Just screams. Pilot to crew, Bickle's dead, top turret's gone. No response needed. Everyone heard it. Everyone knows. Around Flotsam, the sky is apocalyptic. To the right, Ole Terre is corkscrewing down, both right engines on fire, streaming smoke like a comet. McLean counts 3 parachutes. The crew is 10 men. 3 parachutes. To the left, Bosch Buster takes a burst from a Messerschmitt. The bomb bay doors rip open. Bombs tumble out, premature release. They're not armed yet, but the weight shift is catastrophic. The B-24's nose drops violently. It plows into chute luke below it. Both bombers crumple. Wings snap off. The wreckage tumbles earthward in a twisted embrace of aluminum and fire. 14 more men dead. Just like that. Radio to pilot, groups breaking up, leads calling for each aircraft to take evasive action. Evasive action. In a B-24 Liberator, the aircraft cruises at 215 miles per hour, weighs 30 tons, and handles like a freight train. Evasive action means gentle S-turns and praying. McLean banks right, then left. A 4-190 overshoots, its burst going wide. Donahue, still alive in the ball turret, tracks it and fires. Misses. The fighter climbs away, untouched. Waist to pilot. Harris is hit. Harris is hit. In the waist, Sergeant Tom Kavanagh drops his gun and scrambles to where Bill Harris has collapsed against the fuselage. Harris's flight suit is dark with blood. A cannon shell fragment caught him in the chest. His eyes are open, staring at nothing. Kavanagh keys the intercom, his voice shaking. Pilot, Harris is gone. 2 crew dead. Aircraft damaged. And they're still 90 miles inside Germany. Above them, Daisy May is fighting for life. Lieutenant Charles Grainer, the pilot, has lost 2 engines and the tail section is mostly gone, sheared off by cannon fire. The tail gunner, Sergeant Andrew Molnar, is dead in the wreckage. Grainer is trying to keep the aircraft level, but it's losing altitude, 1,000 feet per minute, then 1,500. Daisy May to any aircraft. We're going down, bailing out. The intercom clicks off. Parachutes blossom beneath the dying bomber. 1, 2, 5, 7. The B-24 rolls onto its back and spirals into the clouds. Fischer makes his 4th pass. His ammunition is exhausted, but he stays with the formation, calling out positions to the fighters still loaded. He sees a B-24 ahead, A-24 ahead, 3 engines running, the 4th feathered. Smoke from the tail section. It's wounded, vulnerable. Green 6, target at your 2 o'clock low. He's yours. A Sturm 4-190, Ain-Chi, heavily armored, with 4 20mm cannons. Ain-Chi rolls in. The pilot, Feldwebel Hans Bauer, doesn't fire until he's within 200 meters. Point-blank range. When he does fire, the effect is catastrophic. The B-24, A, Fancy Nancy, comes apart. The entire nose section separates. The co-pilot, still strapped in his seat, tumbles through the air. The cockpit is open to the sky. The pilot, Lieutenant Richard McDonnell, has time to register what's happening before the fuselage breaks in half behind the wings. The forward section, wings still attached, drops away. The tail section tumbles separately. 10 men riding 2 pieces of wreckage into the earth. 094, 4 hours, 6 minutes since first contact. The 445th Bomb Group no longer exists as a coherent formation. Aircraft are scattered across 50 miles of German sky. Some are burning, some are trying to limp west. Some are simply gone, vaporized in mid-air collisions or blown apart by cannon fire. In Reluctant Dragon, Captain Keefe is still alive, still fighting. His left waist gunner is dead. His radio operator is dead. His ball turret gunner bailed out 3 minutes ago when fire spread through the aft fuselage. Keefe has 2 engines left, and the control surfaces are barely responding. A Messerschmitt 109 makes a head-on pass. Keefe sees the nose guns flashing. He hunches behind the instrument panel. USA. Instinctive. Useless. Cannon shells walk up the fuselage. The windscreen shatters. Something hits Keefe's left arm. Hot. He looks down. His flight suit is soaked red. The co-pilot, Lieutenant James Wilson, grabs the yoke. I got it. But the hydraulics are gone, the control cables are severed, the B-24 rolls left, picks up speed. They're in a graveyard spiral. Bail out, Wilson screams into the intercom. Bail out, bail out. Keefe unbuckles with his good hand, stumbles toward the nose hatch. Behind him, the surviving crew, Cinque, 5 men left from 10, are already jumping. He sees the navigator dive through the hatch. Then, the bombardier. Then, Reluctant Dragon enters a flat spin. The centrifugal force pins Keefe against the fuselage. He can't reach the hatch, can't move. The altimeter unwinds. 15,000 feet, 10,000, 5,000. Captain James Keefe dies on impact 3 miles northeast of Göttingen. McLean is still flying, still alive. Flotsam has 2 engines left, holes in both wings, no top turret, and a dead flight engineer lying in his own blood. Wade is crying, not sobbing, just tears running down his face as he mechanically scans the engine instruments. Navigator, to pilot. Benninger's voice is eerily calm. Recommend, heading 270. Get us out of here. Copy, coming to 270. McLean banks west, running, no shame in it now. The mission is over, survival is the only objective. Around him, the few remaining B-24 seconds of the 445th are doing the same, scattering, running for their lives. The German fighters pursue for another 10 minutes, then break off. They're low on fuel and ammunition. They've done their work. Behind them, the sky over Germany is filled with parachutes, smoke trails, and falling wreckage. 25 B-24 Liberators destroyed. 6 minutes. Second Lieutenant Robert Benninger tumbles through space. The slipstream tore him from Flotsam. No, that's not right. He jumped. He remembers jumping. After McLean gave the order, after the number 1 engine seized and the fire spread to the wing route and there was no choice left. He pulls the ripcord. The parachute deploys with a violent jerk that nearly dislocates his shoulders. Suddenly, the chaos stops. It's quiet, peaceful, almost. He can hear birds. Below, the German countryside spreads out in neat squares of farmland and forest. It looks like a painting. Then he sees the others. Parachutes everywhere, dozens of them. White canopies drifting down across miles of sky. The entire 445th Bomb Group is falling to earth in pieces. Men and machines scattered across Hesse and Thuringia. Some parachutes are stable. Others are tangled, spiraling. One isn't moving at all, the body limp in the harness, already dead from flak or cannon fire before he jumped. Benninger looks up at his own canopy. Intact. He checks his body. No holes, no blood. He's alive. For now. The ground rushes up. He remembers the training. Feet together, knees bent, roll with the impact. He hits hard in a plowed field, tumbles, and the parachute collapses around him. For a moment, he just lies there, staring at the sky, breathing. He's alive. He's also in the middle of Nazi Germany. Benninger struggles out of his harness, pulls out his escape kit, print, compass, maps printed on silk, German currency. The plan is to move west, reach Allied lines, evade capture. That's what the briefing said. Move at night, avoid roads, find the underground resistance. He takes 3 steps before he sees them. 2 German soldiers, running across the field, old men, really, Volkssturm, Home Guard, too old for the real fighting, but they have rifles. One of them is shouting, "Halt! Hände hoch!" Benninger raises his hands. The war, for him, is over. 5 miles south, Staff Sergeant Mike Donahue is having better luck. He landed in a forest, his parachute catching in the upper branches of an oak tree. It took him 20 minutes to cut himself down. Now he's moving west through the trees, staying low, avoiding clearings. He doesn't know if anyone else from Flotsam made it out. He saw McLean still in the cockpit when he jumped. The pilot was fighting the controls, trying to give the crew time to escape. Wade was there too. Russo, the bombardier, jumped first, then Woolen, the radio operator, then Donahue himself, tumbling out of the belly hatch into freezing air and chaos. He doesn't know if they made it. He walks for 3 hours, heading west by the sun. He hears dogs in the distance, search parties. The Germans are efficient. They know approximately where the bombers went down. They'll sweep the area systematically. At dusk, Donahue reaches a small village. He's exhausted, freezing, and desperately thirsty. He sees a farmhouse on the outskirts, smoke rising from the chimney. A woman is hanging laundry in the yard. He has a choice: keep moving and die of exposure, or take a chance. He approaches with his hands visible. Bitte? Wasser? The woman turns. She's maybe 60, grey hair, weathered face. She looks at his flight suit, his Mae West life vest still strapped on. She knows exactly what he is. For a long moment, she says nothing. Then she gestures to the house. Come and see. Inside, she gives him water. Bread. She doesn't speak English, and he doesn't speak German, but the message is clear. Hide in the cellar. Tonight. Tomorrow. She'll find someone who can help. Donahue descends into the cellar. It's cold, dark, and smells of potatoes. But he's alive. Above, the woman returns to her laundry. 10 minutes later, her husband comes home from the village. She tells him about the American in the cellar. The husband is silent for a long time. Then he walks to the village constable's office. The next morning, Donahue is arrested by Wehrmacht soldiers. Not everyone is captured. Lieutenant George Koller, co-pilot of Mizpah, evades for 16 days. He moves only at night, sleeping in barns and forests during the day. A French forced laborer gives him civilian clothes. A German priest gives him food and doesn't ask questions. He crosses into Belgium, makes contact with the resistance, and is smuggled through the line to American forces in December. He's one of 6 men from the 445th who successfully evade capture. 121 others aren't as lucky. By nightfall, on September 27th, German military police have rounded up most of the survivors. They're processed at collection points, FIA, names recorded, wounds treated, personal items confiscated. Then they're loaded onto trains. Destination: Stalag Luft III, the POW camp in Silesia. In the processing center at Kassel, Benninger sits on a wooden bench with 40 other captured airmen. Some are from the 445th, others are from different missions, different groups. All are exhausted. All are trying to process what happened. A young German officer, speaking perfect English, addresses them. You will be treated according to the Geneva Convention. You will be given food and medical care. You will be transferred to a permanent camp tomorrow. Someone behind Benninger mutters, "At least we're alive." But not everyone is. Back at the crash sites, German work parties are recovering bodies from the wreckage. Americans killed instantly in explosions or mid-air collisions. Men who died in the cockpits, still strapped into their seats. Gunners who went down with their aircraft, firing until the end. 118 men of the 445th Bomb Group died on September 27, 1944, in 6 minutes of combat, the greatest single mission loss in 8th Air Force history. Tibenham Airfield, England. 1730 hours. The control tower officer sees them first, specks on the western horizon, limping home. He counts. 1, 2, 5, 8. He keeps counting, stops at 12. 12 B-24 returning. 37 went out. The first aircraft to land is Stevanovich II, piloted by Lieutenant Stanley Stachon. The B-24 has one engine feathered. The tail section looks like Swiss cheese, and the left landing gear won't fully extend. Stachon brings it in hot, touches down hard. The aircraft veers left as the damaged gear collapses. It skids off the runway in a shower of sparks and comes to rest in the grass. The crew evacuates, all 10 men alive. They're the lucky ones. One by one, the survivors land. Flotsam isn't among them. McLean managed to keep it flying for another 30 minutes after Benninger bailed out, but the wing fire spread. He gave the final order to abandon aircraft at 12,000 feet over Belgium. 8 men jumped. McLean and Wade waited until the last possible moment, then followed. Flotsam crashed in a Belgian field. Empty. By 1800 hours, all the aircraft that are coming back have landed, 12 out of 37. Some are so badly damaged they'll never fly again. Ground crews swarm over them, counting holes, assessing structural damage. One B-24 has over 300 bullet and cannon shell holes. The tail gunner is dead in his turret, killed by flak on the return flight after surviving the fighter attack. The hardstands are empty. Reluctant Dragon, Maiden USA, Liberty Bell, Boach Buster, Shoot Luke, Altare, Daisy May, Fancy, Nancy. The names march through squadron leader Thomas's head as he walks the flight line. 25 aircraft, gone, 250 men. Some are prisoners, some evaded, some are bodies in wreckage scattered across Germany. At 1,900 hours, the debriefing begins. The surviving crews sit in the same briefing room where they received the mission orders 13 hours ago. They look like ghosts, flight suits torn and blood-stained, faces grey with exhaustion and shock. Some are wounded, bandages visible under their jackets. All are trying not to think about the empty chairs. Colonel Tyrrell stands at the front. His face is stone. "Gentlemen, I need to know exactly what happened." Lieutenant Stacken speaks first. His voice is flat, emotionless. "We lost the main formation, navigation error. By the time we realized it, we were too far north. When the fighters hit us, there was no escort, no support. They just kept coming." Another pilot. "There must have been 100 of them, maybe more. They didn't break off. They stayed with us for the entire attack." "How long?" Terrell asks. 6 minutes, maybe 7, from first contact to when they broke off. Terrell writes this down. His hand is steady, but his jaw is clenched. Casualties. The intelligence officer has been making calls, checking with headquarters, coordinating with rescue services and the Red Cross. He reads from his notes. Confirmed aircraft lost, 25. Status of crews, W2, 118 killed in action, confirmed or presumed, 121 missing in action, presumed captured, 17 wounded, 6 successfully returned to base. The math is brutal. Out of 370 men who took off this morning, only 132 are accounted for and free. 2/3 casualties. In one mission. Someone in the back of the room vomits. No one reacts. Terrell continues. There will be a full investigation. 8th Air Force has already dispatched a board. They'll want statements from all of you. In the meantime, he pauses, struggling with the words. In the meantime, we continue. We have a mission tomorrow. We will honor our missing by completing the job. But everyone in the room knows the truth. The 445th Bomb Group has been gutted. It will take weeks to receive replacement aircraft and crews. Some of the men in this room will never fly combat again. Medical discharges, psychological trauma, rotation home. The debriefing ends at 2,100 hours. The crews disperse into the October night. In the barracks, personal effects are being collected. Letters, photographs, watches, wedding rings. Everything that belonged to the missing men. It will be catalogued, stored, and eventually shipped to next of kin. In McLean's footlocker, they find 23 letters to his wife, dated but never sent. He planned to mail them all when he finished his tour. There's also a photograph of a woman holding a baby. On the back, in McLean's handwriting, Linda and John Jr., March 1944. The effects officer adds it to the inventory. Outside, the empty hardstands wait in the darkness. Someone has already painted over the names on the aircraft that won't be coming back. Standard procedure. New bombers will arrive, new names will be painted. The war doesn't stop. But tonight, Tibenham Airfield is a graveyard. The wind moves through the empty dispersal areas. In the control tower, a young officer looks out at the field and thinks about the 37 bombers that took off this morning. Only 12 came home, and some of those will never fly again. The official investigation takes 3 weeks. The US AAF Accident Investigation Board interviews survivors, examines after-action reports, and reconstructs the mission timeline with ruthless precision. Their conclusion is damning in its simplicity. Navigation error. The lead navigator of the 445th Bomb Group, flying in the command aircraft, made a critical mistake during the assembly over England. When the formation entered the cloud layer at 18,000 feet, he miscalculated the turn to merge with the main bomber stream. Instead of correcting when they broke through the clouds, he continued on the erroneous heading. By the time anyone realized the error, the 445th was 30 miles north of the main formation and too deep into Germany to safely abort. The group leader made the decision to continue to the target. Kassel was only 50 miles ahead. They would drop their bombs and rejoin the stream on the return leg. They never made it to Kassel. The Luftwaffe fighter controllers at Dehlen and Stade had tracked the isolated formation on radar. With the main Allied bomber stream occupying most of the available German fighters, the small group of B-24 seconds, alone and unescorted, 2 SB-2s, was too tempting a target to ignore. Every available fighter within range scrambled. Oberleutnant Karl Fischer, in his post-war testimony, estimated that 150 German fighters participated in the attack. American survivors estimated even higher numbers, some said 200. The actual number will never be known with certainty, but the result is undisputed. 25 B-24 Liberators destroyed in 6 minutes. 118 killed in action. 121 captured. It remains the greatest single mission loss in 8th Air Force history. No other bomb group suffered such catastrophic casualties in a single engagement during the entire war. The 445th Bomb Group was reconstituted, new aircraft arrived from the States, replacement crews were assigned from the replacement depots. By November, the group was flying combat missions again, but it was a different unit. New faces, new bombers, the institutional memory of that September day carried only by the survivors. The navigation procedures were changed. The 8th Air Force implemented new protocols. Multiple navigators cross-checking positions, mandatory radio checks with division headquarters every 15 minutes, stricter formation discipline. The lessons were written in blood. John McClane survived. He was captured by Belgian resistance after parachuting from Flotsam and was hidden until liberation in September 1945. He returned home to Linda and John Jr. He never flew again. In 1987, he attended the first reunion of the 445th Bomb Group survivors in Dayton, Ohio. He met Robert Benninger there. Both men had survived the war as POWs. They shook hands and didn't speak about Kassel. Some memories are too heavy. Mike Donahue, the ball turret gunner who spent 16 months in Stalag Luft III, returned home in 1945. He married, raised 4 children, and worked as a machinist in Detroit until retirement. He never spoke about the war to his family. When his grandson found his Purple Heart in a drawer and asked about it, Donahue said only, "I was lucky." Lieutenant George Koller, who evaded capture and returned through the underground, flew 12 more missions before the war ended. He survived. In 1991, he returned to the village in Belgium, where the priest had hidden him. The priest was long dead, but the church was still there. Koller left flowers and an American flag. Of the 121 captured, all but 3 survived the war. Those 3 died in captivity. FNA, 1 from wounds, 2 from disease. The survivors were liberated when Allied forces overran the POW camps in the spring of 1945. They came home thin, scarred, but alive. The 118 killed are buried in military cemeteries across Europe, some in the Netherlands American Cemetery at Margraten, others in the Luxembourg American Cemetery. A few were returned home at their family's request. Their graves are marked with white crosses or stars of David. The stones give name, rank, unit, and date of death. The 27th of September, 1944, all of them. The 445th Bomb Group Association was founded in 1978 by survivors and family members. Every year, they gather to remember. The roster shrinks each reunion. Veterans in their 80s now, then 90s, then gone. The last surviving crew member of the Kassel mission, Technical Sergeant Frank Bertram, died in 2012 at age 91, but the memory endures. In Kassel, Germany, there is a small plaque near the site where Reluctant Dragon crashed. It was placed there by the city in 1994, the 50th anniversary. It reads, in English and German, in memory of the American airmen who died here, the 27th of September, 1944. They fought for freedom. The mighty 8th Air Force Museum in Savannah, Georgia, has an exhibit dedicated to the mission. Photographs of the crews, a piece of wreckage from one of the downed B-24 seconds, and a map showing the intended route in blue and the actual route, the fatal navigation error, NR, in red. The lines diverge over England, they never converge again. Visitors stand in front of the exhibit and try to comprehend. 25 bombers, 6 minutes, the numbers are abstract, but the faces in the photographs are not. Young men, most in their early 20s, they smile at the camera, confident, invincible, they don't know what's coming. The exhibit includes one of McClane's unmailed letters to his wife. The museum acquired it from the family. It's dated September 26, 1944, Embry, the night before the mission. It reads, Dearest Linda, 22 down, 15 to go. Maybe I'll be home for Christmas. Give John Jr. a kiss for me. All my love, Jack. He never mailed it. The next morning, he was flying toward Kassel. What lessons endure? That war is unforgiving of mistakes. That courage cannot compensate for tactical error. That young men die for the decisions of others. That 6 minutes can erase 370 lives. That some ended instantly, others forever changed. The men of the 445th Bomb Group went to war believing in something larger than themselves. Freedom, duty, the defeat of fascism. On September 27, 1944, they paid a price that defies comprehension, not in a climactic battle or a famous last stand, but in a navigation error and a sky full of enemy fighters. They deserve to be remembered, not as statistics, not as the greatest single mission loss, but as men, pilots and gunners, navigators and bombardiers, sons and husbands, fathers. They flew into Germany on a grey October morning. Most didn't come back, but they flew, and that matters.